unfortunately, Terry, I'm going to call him Terry, his real name is Terrence, was brutally murdered. And when I say brutally murdered, like...
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
You and Terry maybe had something, I'm not calling you gay, and he threatened to tell your wife.
Right now, it's like, I'm just in shock. I'm like, wow.
You're in shock because it's been 25 years.
After 25 years of trying to solve a case gone cold, detectives have zeroed into this man, Kenneth Robert Stow, as a potential murderer. And in the next few seconds, Kenneth will realize that there is no escaping his past.
I didn't kill nobody.
Do you swear to God that that's the truth?
God, I didn't kill
you raise your right hand? You swear? Can you raise your right hand? You swear to God?
I swear to God, I didn't kill nobody.
I would say, can we get your DNA? But we got your DNA. This was going to be a typical day for you. And your shit just got spinned around today.
It was a little after 6 a.m. on February 3rd, 1996, in Orlando, Florida, when Orange County Sheriff's Office responded to the Lil Champ Mini Mart on Clarcona Ocoee Road. Locals who stopped in daily on their way to work were surprised to find the store closed and with the lights off, in spite of the well-loved manager Terrence Paquette's car being parked out front. When detectives entered using the key of one of Terry's coworkers, they found Terry lying on the floor of the gas station bathroom with 73 distinct stab wounds to his body. Unfortunately, we couldn't find much information on Terry. After hours of trying to find glimpses of him in old yearbooks, newspaper articles, and interviews, we were only able to make a few discoveries. For starters, Terry grew up in New England, hopping between Massachusetts and New Hampshire. His mother divorced his father when he was just a baby. As soon as Terry was old enough to forge his own path, he moved to Florida. There he lived alone with his beloved dog and had several friends. He would often go to bars with friends, but he was never one to drink, joining them instead just for the company. He had no known enemies and no previous record whatsoever. In other words, the police were at a loss. That is, until 2021, when blood samples taken from the scene of the crime 25 years prior were retested, this time with genetic genealogy, and it led them to this man, Kenneth Stow. The following footage has been provided to us via FOIA request with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. As you can see, Ken is handcuffed as he's brought into the interrogation room, yet he has absolutely no idea that he's been arrested for murder. Police located him at a local Wells Fargo and claimed that he had committed a financial crime to get him to come with them calmly. Though, technically, the police aren't completely lying. 25 years ago, Ken did steal $4,000 from a cash register. That being said, the fact that the cashier had been murdered is definitely a more pressing crime.
Hey,
Mr. Stow.
What's up?
How's it going, bro? Let me take this stuff off you.
Pronounce my name right.
It's Stow?
No, but he's
Oh, okay.
Stow.
I'm Savelli, so Savelli.
Oh, okay.
I deal with
I'm a nubbing, so everybody
pretty-
gets that one right. You good? Stretch
Is
out
the
a little
first name
bit.
Kenny? Kenneth?
Ken.
I'm Ryan. This is Dave, my partner. This is what I want to do, man. I want to sit down and talk to you. Obviously, this is coming a bit surprise at the bank there. So I just want to start. I want to get some very basic biographical information. Okay.
Okay.
Obviously, I already knew your name, but just for the record, what's your first name?
Kenneth.
Okay.
Kenneth Robert Stow.
Stow.
Jr.
And your birthday?
7/18/67.
And where do you live? And who do you live there with anybody?
Her name's Emily Edwards.
Emily. And
Yeah. Emily
wife?
Edwards. Girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Long time? Short time?
Been here with her about 8 years.
Kids?
I have kids that are grown, but through my divorce.
Okay.
Yeah, they're.
Okay, but no kids with Emily.
No.
Okay, and it's just the two of you guys living there?
No, there's her grandson. Let me see. Her grandson, her great-grandson, and one of her best friends. Her name's Betty. She's like 76 years old.
Oh shit. Okay. Is it a big house?
Yeah, it's a 2-story house.
It's a good thing Ken's used to a big house, because the big house is precisely where he's going. His girlfriend Emily will later disclose some interesting things to detectives, including the fact that though she and Ken have been together for 8 years, they aren't intimate in any way. He didn't fare much better in his prior marriage either, though he's eager not to take any blame for that.
Were you married once, or you're not married to Emily,
No.
but you were married?
Yeah.
Who
that
was your ex-wife?
Wanda.
Okay. How long you guys been divorced?
16 years.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
You talked to her?
No.
And you have kids?
Yep.
Two kids?
Yeah,
Three
I have a
kids?
son and a daughter.
Oh shit, okay. You talk to them?
My daughter was still shaky because they all blame me for the divorce.
Oh, yeah.
It's always bad.
Yeah. They didn't complain when the money came in, though.
No.
Yeah.
They
I
got the
get
money.
that. All right, so here's where we're at today, man. Obviously, a lot of stuff, oftentimes when the police talk to people, some things can be a huge misunderstanding. And we just have to kind of take you step by step. And if shit is not what I think it is, then we'll get you back to work. So what I want to do is I want to take you back a handful of years. I guess living in Lockhart. You ever remember living off Cinder Lane?
Yes, sir.
How long did you live there?
We were in the transition of getting a house in Deltona, so about 3 years.
And when you say we, are you talking about with your
My ex and my kids. Yeah.
So they all lived with you there?
Yeah, there.
On Cinder Lane?
Yeah.
And that's right off of kind of like Lockhart area, you said?
Yeah, Lockhart.
Okay. When you, back, 96, do you know where you're working around that time? You said you were in between jobs, you were truck driving for
I
Frito-Lay.
want to say roughly, it was worldwide dedicated. I think it was Papa John's.
What's that? Worldwide dedicated was Papa John's?
Yeah, when we first, now they're doing in-house truck drivers.
Okay.
They do it in-house, but before it was worldwide dedicated. I worked for them before I became a driver with Papa John's.
Okay. And then, so you would deliver pizza? I'm guessing it's like the pre-made pizza.
Yeah.
No,
Up to the Papa John's stores.
And so back then, when you were working for them, where would you go to get your morning coffee? Where would you go to get, I don't know, do you drink beer?
Yeah.
Where would you go to get your beer at the end of a shift?
When I lived, where?
On Cinder Lane. Is there any place in particular?
Circle K.
Okay.
Back then it was Lil Champ and 7-Eleven. All three of them about the same distance from my
Where's the
apartment.
Circle K at?
It's off of 441.
441.
Yeah, I know that.
You're talking about
441 and where?
Clarcona Ocoee.
Clarcona Ocoee. Yep.
And then there's the 7-Elevens on OBT just south, kind of where
7-Eleven
Cinder Lane
would
Parkway
be almost
is.
where the Cablevision company
Yeah,
was.
there was a Pizza Hut back there back in the day. And then Lil Champ is right down the street.
Yeah, that's on Interrogation, and that was used to be Albertsons over there.
Okay. And does this kind of look like the Little Champ back then in the day?
Yeah.
Kind of the same one? It's like
Yeah.
long road?
I worked there.
You worked there?
Yeah, I worked at that one, the one over in Wekiva.
What years were that?
I can tell you, I always worked them as part-time jobs.
Like you were a clerk?
Yeah, because I worked at Cumberland Farms, I worked at different 7-Elevens.
Sure.
Usually I just always did them at night jobs.
Okay.
My mom was a manager at the Lil Champ.
At this Little Champ?
No, I don't think that one. The one where Rose Avenue on the corner, and now there's McDonald's beside it.
Yeah.
It's not Lil Champ.
It's like Orlando Paintball now.
Yeah,
Paintball place
it's right down the street. Yeah.
So you worked at this Little Champ?
Yep, I worked at 3 different ones.
Were you like morning clerk, mid-shift, swing
Different
shift?
ones. Sometimes I just work on Saturdays. Sometimes I work because I always did it as a part-time job. I never did it just as.
Crazy question, and I just want you to be honest with me. Did you ever use a different name back then?
No, sir.
Did you ever go by a different name for tax purposes, like you
Never.
didn't want them to know about this?
Never. I never did nothing with that.
No fraud stuff?
No, sir.
Okay, interesting.
Interesting indeed. Ken admitting that he worked at the same gas station as Terry was not on the detectives' bingo cards. Throughout their investigation, they found no evidence that directly linked Ken to the store, aside from the DNA. They were able to quickly link Ken to the case instead of his brothers because records showed that he was Terry's neighbor. But do you think Ken is going to mention that little detail?
And you don't remember the names of the people that worked there back then, do you?
I know the one manager, because my mom was assistant manager on the Rose Avenue one.
Okay.
His name, and he was real heavy set. I'd be surprised if he's still alive, but his name was Bill. That's all I know. Back then.
Any other names from back then that remember?
No,
And you went by the name Kenneth
Kenneth. Yeah, Kenneth.
from back in the 90s. You
Ken
never
South.
used another name for
No.
tax purposes or anything?
No.
And so working at this store, the one I just showed you,
Mhm.
you remember a guy named Bill there that was heavy set.
No, that was on Clarcona.
Mm-hmm.
This
Okay.
one, the one I'm talking about, it was my mom's manager, so he would orchestrate me going, okay, you want to work this shift? They need some help over here. They need some help over here.
Who was the manager at this store? Do you remember?
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you.
Anything stick out?
Just because I always go there and it'd be another associate there, and they'd say, okay, we close this at a time, and we do this at this time. So I never.
Do you, I guess, and going back, do you ever remember anything that stuck out? Like, there was a black male that worked there, or a female, or a Spanish guy. Does any, like, of the demographics of the people that work there stick out in your head?
No, I know I worked with a woman at that store and the Ocoee store, different women, and there was a. I can't remember.
Okay.
So the time frame, I'm sorry, Ryan, the time frame was you were married to Wanda when you were working at that store?
Yeah.
And she knew you were working there, obviously.
Yeah.
What was it was a part-time job?
Yeah.
What was your day
part-time.
job during
Driving. I drove a lot of times. I mean, back before I started going over the road a little bit, I'd do like Hugh Supply. And then when I got off of there, I worked at Grantham at night, loading trucks, or I'd have a job, do convenience stores.
So that was, what year did you get divorced?
I want to say,
So it was 16 years ago.
at least 16.
So 05-ish?
Yeah, something
How
like
long
that.
were you married?
22 years. We got married
Wow.
right out of high school.
Oh, shit.
Wow, okay.
What happened with the divorce? Why'd you guys get divorced? No, I'm just being nosy now.
So,
No, it just, she said I work too much.
well,
I mean, she's never home. I got to do everything with
was
kids
there,
by
were you having
myself.
financial issues or something? Is that why you had to take the extra
Up
time?
and down sometimes. No, it wasn't really an issue. It was just when she got pregnant with my daughter, I was like, and we were staying on Cinder Lane. I was like, we had just got a house over in, I want to say it was Lake County, but it was outside of Paca. But we had just gotten a house, and it wasn't the house that we wanted, and it was too far for us to work. Our cars weren't doing. And we had to work different shifts. So.
Though Ken is trying to make the divorce sound fairly amicable, detectives will soon confront him with the reality that it was anything but.
But your son even went through some measures to change his name.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, that's pretty...
That's a bridge Ken's got to stumble across when he comes to it. In the meantime, he's got questions about why he's here in the first place.
So this is still dealing with fraud?
Yeah, I want to take it back. I want to show you a picture of somebody that you might have come in contact with through where you said you worked at the Lil Champ. Has this person ever... Did you ever work with this guy? His name is, his government name is Terry, or Terrence, but he goes by Terry.
He looks familiar.
I mean, there's so many people that go through those jobs, right? And kind of like I explained to you earlier, like this whole thing could be a huge misunderstanding. But the times you worked at this Circle K, do you ever remember getting hurt?
At Circle K?
Yeah, or Lil Champ. You ever
Just cuts and stuff like that with,
Okay.
box cutters, nothing major.
I'm going to be honest with you. Terry was murdered.
Oh, shit. I remember somebody back in the day, somebody said somebody got hurt there.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
and I remember a robbery, it was on the news and
Was
everything
it?
else. Yeah.
Because right around the area you kind of live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you remember hearing about it?
Just whatever they said on the news, I don't know exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, just exactly what they said on the news about.
Okay.
It was a robbery, and I seen the crime tape and everything.
Oh, you did? So
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like this is right here?
My mom
This
did
is another
my mom
picture?
worked at the Publix right back here, but not behind that. Yeah, just right behind the Publix.
So-
it was actually in front of my apartment's the Publix that
You work-
she retired at Publix.
We're from Orange County. We're not
Okay.
Lake County guys. We're Orange County guys. Do you have family that works for Orange County?
Do I have family members?
There's some styles that work for Orange
I
County.
remember back in the day there said somebody in the sheriff's office that worked for Orange County.
But you don't have any. You
I
don't
don't
know.
have that, no.
Your parents never mentioned anything like that. Oh. So what was your job at the store at the Lil Champ? Did you
Cashier, stockings, stuff
did you
like
have to
that.
deposit money into the safe at the end of your shift?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Sometimes with them we used to have to, and I thought it was scary because we had to leave there with money and deposit in the ATM.
when you would cut yourself at the store, did you have to report that to your boss? Like, hey, I just injured myself. That's pretty bad.
Nothing unless it was major.
So you never reported any.
No.
Any significant, like...
I got an injury here with Worldwide Dedicated when I was moving.
Well, let me show you some other pictures. So this is the inside of the store, right? Is that kind of what you remember?
Sort of, yeah.
I mean,
They all look
it's
the
going.
same.
I mean,
They
I was
all
going to
look the
say, and
same,
then
yeah.
back in the day, what we need to clear up. This is what could be the misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Is unfortunately Terry, I'm gonna call him Terry. His real name's Terrence, was brutally murdered. And when I say brutally murdered, like,
Oh my.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's crazy, right? And so nowadays, I mean, everything with crime is on TV. You can't turn the TV off.
I watch crime TV.
You
all
watch.
the
You
time.
can't. I mean, I do the same thing. I find myself at home falling asleep to forensic files sometimes because
That's
But when I say this guy was,
If I knew somebody. Wow.
but here's the problem because I know this is the first time you see me, but I've kind of been up in your shit for the past couple months.
Okay.
So the other about a month ago, we got your DNA from you like
Okay.
Budweiser.
Yeah.
You drink Bud, don't
Yes,
you?
sir.
Yeah. And you like to go to the Sicko.
Yes, sir.
And so we got your beer. And so this is what we need to explain, because now we have a homicide where Terry stabbed 73 times.
To protect the investigative integrity, law enforcement has redacted large sections of this audio, so let's break it down. When they say the murder was brutal, they mean it. Blood was discovered throughout the building, all over the bathroom, on the door to the walk-in freezer, on the door to exit the building, on the lottery machine, and on the register. But not all the blood was Terry's. Many of the samples, including all of those outside of the bathroom, were mixed samples containing Terry's DNA, as well as Ken's. One of Ken's close relatives submitted their DNA to a genealogy database, resulting in Orange County detectives connecting him to the crime. Your blood being all over the scene of a crime is pretty hard evidence to contend with, but boy, Ken is going to try.
Something happened with Terry and you. I don't know if you got into a...
I've never heard
Well,
of anybody.
look at this. Listen to this. You ever watch Jerry Springer shows and they do the paternity test and
Yeah, I
And
understand.
they say-
I watch DNA shows and everything,
Yeah.
but for somebody to say I'm responsible for something like that, no.
And let me tell you about Terry. We got to go back. We can't be talking about 2021 right now, because would you agree times are different in 2021 than they were in 96?
Definitely.
However you want to look at it. Terry was gay.
I'm just trying to.
I'm just trying to give you kind of a background. Terry was the store manager at Lil Champ, and he was gay, openly gay.
Okay.
Not a big deal today,
All right.
right? It's not uncommon to work with or associate with somebody that's gay. 96, a little bit different. Would you agree that times were different? It wasn't as widely accepted as it is today.
I used to have gay friends before, huh?
Even in 96?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, not that early, but
Okay.
I mean, when I worked for Papa John's, the guy I drove with was.
And you guys got along just fine? Did you have any problems or ill will towards him because he was gay in 96?
No.
And if you did, that's
My
okay.
boyfriend, my
Okay.
manager, Scott, we used to go to the Hard Rock Cafe and drink, and he was
Okay.
actually in a married relationship.
Okay.
So yeah.
So my question, I guess I got to get kind of personal now, because now you look at this from me, where you see Terry is gay and somebody stabbed him 73 times. Not only stabbed him 73 times,
Wow.
but his throat. So you watch these crime shows. What would you think if somebody had the?
I understand.
So it's personal. Would you agree?
Somebody that was angry.
Have you ever been attracted, or have you ever been with a guy?
No, sir. No.
So that's my next question. Is this possible that Terry made you feel uncomfortable, came on to you one morning?
No. I would call going there a lot. I go out there a lot. Just like
Did he ever-
No. No.
Did you know
I'm
Terry?
really mad at somebody to do something like that. That's freaking wacko right there.
Did you know Terry?
I can't say like not on a person. I was like, hey, how you doing? I played my lottery there. I got my
But
beer
did you know
there.
Terry? Now that I say the name.
I didn't know him.
And so looking at the
just
picture-
in the store. I never worked. I never worked with him.
I don't want to put words in your
Okay.
mouth. So when I showed you that picture of him, I said, you know him? You said he looks familiar. Now thinking back, did you know the person there as Terry?
I can't recall. I really can't.
Okay, so when I say you know him, I don't want you to think that I'm insinuating that you knew this guy.
His picture that don't look familiar, but
And here's the other thing. There's money missing from this safe here. So does this safe look familiar? You see the safe here?
they basically they all look the same. I couldn't tell you not that long ago.
Do you know that if somebody was opening in their opening routine in the morning, that there would probably be money in there from the overnight clerk that had put money in the
I
safe?
know there used to be cameras in there.
Okay, all right. And so that's where I'm getting at. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
We got
there used to be cameras. In there.
Yeah. So I'm trying to go little by little. So this is not really a question if you were there, because now you know that there's cameras and stuff. It's not a question of where you were there, because we have all this evidence. It's a matter of what happened and trying to explain this.
I didn't do that.
And so what I don't want, because oftentimes you're a dad, right? You say you still contact your daughter. It's just going back to dealing with kids. If your daughter came home from school and something happened at school, and she told you what happened, she might get in trouble. But if she lied to you,
She get in more trouble.
she get in more trouble. Because in our society, there's always what someone does can be explained.
Yeah.
It can be explained. Hard times, bankruptcy, whatever. Everything can be explained. But what nothing can be explained is when you lie and you try to cover up. Because what we want to leave here. And just like, if you didn't do this, we got to prove that Kenneth Down did not do this. And I'll do that for you. I will, but I need to know how to do that.
If a cop ever claims they're trying to help prove your innocence, it's time to call a lawyer, who may actually do that if you're lucky. Terry's keys were taken off of his body and used to open the safe, where $4,000 was stolen by the murderer. This led to some initial whispers that the murder was motivated by a robbery. However, the brutal nature of the crime suggested something more personal, perhaps even something intimate.
Look at this blood drop. I'm not an expert in blood. I don't claim to be. It's clean, bro. So, and like I said, man, people do this for one or two reasons. Actually, one of three reasons. And it hasn't changed since the beginning of time.
Their man are sick.
Huh? No.
They're sick.
Women, money, and rage are just about the three oldest motives for something like this. Money, women, and rage, right? So obviously you were married to Wanda.
Yeah.
And see, we asked all these questions. I knew you were married to Wanda. I know you haven't spoke to Amanda and your son and all that stuff. See, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to just figure out why this happened. It's not. I don't want you to think I'm being rude or condescending, because I'm not. I'm not asking you if you did this.
Hey, no, you saying I did it? I know for a fact I don't have that much anger, madness.
And that's what I want to get at.
I don't have that in me though.
But
I can't even go out hunting with nobody because I can't shoot a freaking animal.
I know, but that's what I want to get at. And that's where rage comes in, where somebody violates you, or they do something. I never said you were.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like, I don't understand why I wouldn't have no rage towards nobody, not to hurt somebody. There's nothing
Well,
that can make me that.
Is it? And I don't know, and I hate to get into the personal stuff because
That's
couldn't
fine.
imagine sitting here.
This is
but
really personal now.
Yeah, it's
I'm likely going to prison, jail.
It's very personal, and that's what I was asking. Is I didn't know if maybe you did know Terry, maybe you did come in for a cup of coffee, and maybe he did come on to you, or I don't know, or maybe something happened and you were young and it was 25 years ago.
I never really knew him as his name. I knew him, and that's why other folks look familiar.
But when you say him, are you saying that?
I can't remember his name.
Can you identify him off of that picture I showed you?
The other picture, that looks.
So Brian and I, between the two of us, we've been doing this job for over 50 years. I've been doing this 32 years myself, and Brian's been doing it for close to 20. So you're looking at, we've heard every single story. I started this job in 1989. That's how long I've been doing this job. This homicide occurred when I had been on a job for 7 years.
What year?
So
what was the year?
1996.
February 3rd, 1996. It was a Saturday.
In the morning, when Terry was opening the store, before opening, so he had to either let you in the store early, or he had inadvertently left it unlocked, and you went in the store. But if you knew him and you knock on the door, he probably would have let you in, and that makes perfect sense because if you know the guy and he sees you, because we're racking our head. We know the who, which is you and Terry. We know the where. We know the when. And we know the how, kind of, and we think we know the why. It's $4,000 missing. You're in financial trouble.
I always had money though. I
why'd you declare bankruptcy?
Well, that was before that happened. I had good jobs though. I had Class A CDL. I always worked.
But
so that leads us into the next question. If it can't be money, can't be women because you're married, then it's rage. And so let's look at this picture again. You said, now we're looking at this picture.
I said he looked familiar. I said, I'm trying to think back then.
Ken claiming he's good with money is worthy of the look that detectives give each other here. In 1994, he and his wife filed for bankruptcy, in spite of him having a good job, as he claims. That was just 2 years before Terry was murdered and the money was stolen out of the register by his killer. Then in 2004, Ken filed for bankruptcy yet again. So what does a man rack up so many debts on? We'll get to that.
Is there any way I can get it? My nerves are like...
Yeah, we'll get you one. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at this. You can't do this to somebody.
I can't do that.
Because you gotta, no, I didn't say that.
I can't do that.
But when you say this water bottle is a knife. When you do this to somebody, you know what you're hitting? You're hitting bone and you're sweating profusely, so the handle of that knife becomes a little slippery. And sometimes your hand slides down. Are you right or left-handed?
Right.
That's perfect, because if you see where all these injuries are, they are all on the right side. Typically, when you're standing over somebody, right, or his left, there will be opposite side, right? So that's why you see them over on the right, because most people are stronger on their right. What I'm saying is your hand slips down and you inadvertently do this. So would you agree that if you did this to someone, whoever did this would probably have Terry's blood on him? Would you agree?
No.
Look at that. Probably has Terry's blood on him. This looks bad.
Yeah.
This looks bad.
I mean, I didn't have my surgery until on both hands for...
When did you have surgery?
Huh?
When did you have surgery?
Probably almost same here.
This looks bad.
Yeah, but it's on both of my hands.
This right
It's
here,
on
what
the
happened to
cable.
Terry, looks bad.
No, it's
I
not
can't
good.
imagine sitting in your seat. It looks horrible, but it can be explained, and most people sitting in your seat, right, regardless of how hard it is, to be honest, it's very, very important. Very important, okay? Because there's a difference in somebody that grew up since they were 15, and they said, you know what? I just want to kill somebody. Right? No. Just hear me out. But there's a difference between there's a difference between somebody that is that young and it's in their mind their whole life, and they're just going around. That person's a monster. They wanted to do this, and they've thought about it, and then finally they say, you know, I'm going to kill that person, and then they go through the whole process of premeditating this, and they stalk them out, and they do it, and then finally they kill them one day. That's a monster. Somebody that's thought about this versus somebody that did this. One, because they had a kid on the way, in and out of jobs.
My daughter was...
Just hear me out.
Okay.
That did this in a fit of rage, that never had these thoughts, or maybe something just happened. But it's important that you're honest with us, because it may not seem like it's important now, and it may be very hard for you to do. But I promise you,
I could explain
I
anything
promise,
I would. I just...
there's only one way to
You're
explain
telling-
it.
You're telling... I can't... I'm in
You
shock.
don't-
I'm in shock. I just never...
You're
shocked.
shocked. You're shocked because you're here right now. Because for 25 years, you've never been in front of a detective asking about your blood.
I never committed a crime like this.
And how do
I
you-
got a DUI and...
In a semi-truck.
Huh?
In a semi-truck, right?
Yeah,
Pretty funny.
because I was living there.
You get disorderly
Okay.
conduct at Pleasure
Oh,
Island.
I see.
Well, that was, yeah,
Yeah.
that somebody else was trying to fight me.
So you see,
Okay.
but we've done our homework.
I know, but I'm not...
So this is what I think.
violent.
This is what I think happened. Brian and I have been back to the store. Obviously, Terry is working. He's open. It's like 5:44 in the morning. He's running his reports. You remember running your reports on the cash registers and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So he's up there.
I normally didn't open,
And
but
he would
yeah.
leave his keys on hanging in from the lock because he had to let delivery people in. And it was easier because it was a key on either side, right? So the newspaper person would come by, the chip delivery, whatever, he'd unlock it. Well, here comes the murderer knocking on the door. Well, or the murderer had a key. Terry had to let that person in the store because he knew that person because the store wasn't open. So he lets the person he knows in the store.
Like I said, I never worked there when he worked there. That time.
You just said it.
Can you just wear that cross around your neck? Or do you live by it? Is it something that you just wear?
I used to go to my
You go to church?
My mom used to be a pastor.
And what did you learn all those years growing up in church?
Christ is my Savior, and I trust me. I just
And don't you think it's important
I just don't
Professor-
live the life.
Well, you know, and I don't think anybody truly does that walks this earth. I don't care how vested you are in the church.
Try, but, I mean,
everybody tries,
yeah.
right? But obviously, if you know anything about religion, everybody can be saved, can be born again, right? But it starts with being true and being honest.
I know God is my witness.
Yeah,
there's no way.
But there is a way.
I want to do that.
There is a way.
There's no way I can do that.
Did you come in the store? Did you find him being attacked? There's no doubt that you were in the store that morning. Can we agree on that? You were in the store that morning. You had to be. You were in the store that morning, right?
In that morning, though.
How can you say that?
Detectives will continue to be shocked by the things Ken says. He is cornered with just about the most damning evidence that anyone can face. Their DNA all over a crime scene mixed with the DNA of the victim. And yet his denials only get crazier from here. Not just about the murder, but about plenty of other shocking aspects of his life.
Dave brings up a good point. Did you find Terry like this and freak the out? Take his keys, check for a pulse, get his DNA on? Hear me out, because it's very plausible. Terry, oh my God, are you okay? And then all of a sudden, you touch him and you get a pulse, and now you take his keys because you're freaking out, because now what's going to happen is the cops are going to come and they're going to look at you like, oh, Kenneth is the murderer. Then you lock up and take his keys. Is that possible?
No.
But because that didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Like I said, I knew about the robbery, but seeing that,
So Dave and I have the wrong person.
You definitely
We have the wrong person.
Yeah, the wrong person. I didn't kill nobody.
Do you swear to God that that's the truth?
God, I didn't kill
You raise your right hand. You swear? Can you raise your right hand? You swear to
I
God?
swear to God, I didn't
Wow.
kill nobody. I was there, like I said, Thursday or Friday, probably.
But
I'm just trying to.
You don't know
back.
when you worked there, Ken.
I know as far as a customer. I mean,
But
before that happened, I already.
you remember you were living in
injured.
Volusia. You told me you remember when this happened. You were living in Volusia
But I
County.
visit my mom almost every day.
In the morning.
Visit my mom.
In the morning time.
Different times. All the time.
5 in the morning. 6 in the
No,
morning.
never.
That's when this
Came
happened.
I didn't come that early in the morning. Might have been there the night before.
Here's what I think happened. So you get inside the store. Either you know that Terry has all the money out. The $4,000 is gone. We talked to the clerk who worked the night before. He said, "Yeah, I remember putting it in there. Now it's gone." You kill Terry inside the bathroom. And then you come out, and people are starting to come. Customers, there's a guy waiting for a ride. You hunker down in the freezer until somebody's gone. And then you haul out the door. You grab what you can behind the counter.
You've been living with this for 25 years.
I can't recall.
You just got to get this off your shoulders,
I
bro.
wouldn't done it. There's no way.
How good would it feel just to get this off your chest, man? It has to have been eating you up, man. It has been eating you up.
I can't say something I did. I know I didn't do it. I wouldn't.
I don't want you to do that. I just want you to be honest.
I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't do nothing like that. I couldn't do nothing like that.
But you know what's weird is me looking back when I was like 15, 16. There's stuff I would have done back when I was 16 that I wouldn't do now. Then I look back when I was 20s and 30s. There's stuff I would have done back then that I wouldn't do now because it's called maturity. As you get older, there's just some shit you do that you wouldn't do now that you would do 25 years ago. Right? You get older, you get wiser. Yeah. Just like you got divorced. I've been divorced. Right? There's shit that if I get married again, I won't do again. So, it's just called life. It's called maturity. So you keep saying I wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it now because you're, 54? 54, right? 54-year-old Kenneth Stowe wouldn't do this. But 31-year-old, because you were 31 at the time, 31-year-old Kenneth Stowe did. And that's what we got to get past. Yes, you wouldn't do it now. Yes, you regret this. Yes, you're sorry. I can see it on your face, and I feel horrible for you. This is a bad situation. But 54-year-old Kenneth Stowe wouldn't do this, but 31-year-old would have. And that's what we need to know why. I personally, my opinion, this is me just putting the evidence together, that just like he floated one, I'm going to float one. I think Kenneth came on to you. I think maybe possibly you and Kenneth, you and Terry maybe had something. I'm not calling you gay, and he threatened to tell your wife. And how would that look back in 1996? That's my opinion. I don't know. Nobody knows but you, and that's what we're here to do.
I've never.
See,
I've never been.
Do you want us to piece this together for you? This is your story, bro. You don't want us to piece this together for you because he's going to say one thing, I'm going to say another, and then the prosecutor's going to say one thing, and then you got 12 jury members, and they're going to say their own. The only person that can tell us why, how, and how remorseful you are is you. And that's what's important, is the remorse.
Is there a chance I can go to the bathroom?
Yeah, we'll get you
Please.
back. Of course. I know you've been chugging those waters like crazy, but this
Well, I
is
just
what-
got dry throat because
You need that bottle of water?
Yeah, no,
Okay, we'll
but
get
I
you-
gotta go to the bathroom
but-
first.
but-
I gotta pee.
Okay, but that's where we're at,
And I
man.
can't hold my poop, so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get you a bathroom. This is where we're in somebody else's house here.
Okay.
If I was in Ken's position, I would also be crapping myself. At the mention of motives, he's beginning to crumble. But getting him to admit his motive may be harder than linking him to the crime was.
I really, really don't want to think that you've ever done this before, but obviously, clearly, we know you did this, and we need to get past whether you did or not, and what anyone else is going to think, and what Emily's going to think. You know, we really need to get.
Well,
past
she
it.
know I wouldn't do that.
Well, we need to get past that because we need to talk about the remorse. Because, like I said, there's two things, man. There's a difference when somebody is apologetic and sorry and remorseful, and then there's just like this person over here that is just like, oh, you can have video, DNA, and witness testimony that saw me do it, but I didn't do it. Right? So that's what we did. We deal with that a
No
lot.
matter what, I'm going to jail.
That's
Well,
why do you
I mean-
say that? Why do you say
I'd
that?
like to make a phone call. I'd like to call Teal. Let
Who's
her know
Teal?
what's going on. Emily.
Oh, you call her Teal. Okay.
Yeah, we'll actually, we're going to go talk to her as well. So, I mean, like I said, the cat's out of the bag now, so we're going to talk to everybody. But the thing is, like, you know, you say you wouldn't do it, but, you know, you watch those crime shows, right?
I see it.
You see the
I
people that are
feel
like-
so
you
bad
remember
for
that-
people that go and they get out of prison so many years later because, you know.
Well, usually they're exonerated by DNA.
You keep saying that no matter what, I'm going to jail. And that's because I think subconsciously you know, like I said, man, and I want you to, I really wish that you would just be real. And like I said,
Trying to
like
be-
everybody else,
I know you guys are trying to talk.
Because you seem like a good dude.
I wouldn't do it. I didn't do that.
We're not trying to get you to confess. We're getting you to
No, I
just tell the
understand.
truth.
I mean, you guys are just
Like,
doing
we
your
wanna know-
job. You have what
Because
you feel that, okay, you're trying to put stuff together.
no. What
I
we're
mean-
really trying to do is we're trying to put you at ease. That's what we're, because you seem.
I'm not at ease.
You're not at ease.
so-
But
I'm not at ease.
when people speak to detectives, they're very uncomfortable. And so what people often do is they say, you know what, this is horrible, right?
Mhm.
This is horrible. This is very bad. And
Yeah,
so,
very bad.
but it can be explained. And
I can't explain
people on the outside looking in sometimes are like, oh man, that's crazy. But then when you dumb it down and when you go to the very beginning stages of how this happened, oftentimes it can be explained. And a lot of times people then say, you know what, I can put myself in their shoes. Doesn't mean I would do the same thing, but I can sympathize and I can understand and I can grasp why they did what they did.
Okay.
But the problem is, until we get the real reason, we don't know. It's not like you just, like I said, went out there and you said, you know what, I'm going to pick one person and I'm going to kill them today. No, this was specific, it was targeted, and there's a reason why, whether you want to sit here and be real with me or not, there's a reason why
I'm
this
trying to be as
happened.
real as I can with this information you're trying to.
I know, it's
tell me.
crazy.
So Terry gets murdered. You're potentially a delivery guy.
Oh, no,
Or-
I wasn't delivering there. I mean, I couldn't tell you the timeline. Because I was thinking.
At a store, you knew
I had-
the guy.
Well, I had just.
You
I
think
worked
you'd
there.
have been like, hey, shit, maybe I should
I
go
don't-
by and...
I can't remember back then if that was on even a route of mine. You could check back then with that route. I probably went in there and then
Let me tell you something.
I gave him my ticket. Basically, if it wasn't a regular store to me, like I said, I used to do Orlando, and I used to.
What were you
do the East
delivering?
Coast.
What were you delivering to
You
this
could
store?
talk to Kent, my brother. He was one of the, I want to say managers, but he was a warehouse manager.
What would you deliver to this store?
Beer, wine.
You know what's so weird? Is you said you watch crime drama, right? I do too. I love them. I'll watch 48 Hours, Dateline, whatever the case may be. I enjoy it. I actually do what I love to do for a living. I'm very fortunate and lucky.
I wanted to
But here's the thing. So somebody like you, I think, would be like, man, that's crazy. Looking at the wound, you won't even look at it. Because it's
boring,
very,
especially when you're saying
but it's
that.
very
Something
weird.
I would
I
do.
know, because it's something that you're being forced to relive, and it's very odd. And it's very odd
I didn't
looking at
relive
you.
that.
No, but
really,
you're-
I thought he got shot. I thought when.
But it's very
I
odd
never heard
watching
him.
you here in person, not wanting to look down at this, knowing how
I've seen
how
it
much you
enough.
watch
I
it.
just- and
No,
then
but you
now
don't
you're
want to look at
telling
it.
me
You're
that- I don't want to. Who wants to look at that? I can't even watch freaking when she watches the ER and when people got cuts. and
Yeah,
stuff.
but
I
it's
can't do
different.
that.
It's different when you did it and you're trying to relive it, and it's like, man,
I'm not.
what the f was I thinking back 25 years ago? What was I thinking, Kenneth? You were 31 at the time. Your second kid was born, and I don't know, man. But I would much rather you be seen as this remorseful guy, this honest guy with a cross around his neck, hard-working, blue-collar guy who is just
I'm being honest.
has a little bit of compassion and sympathy towards this guy and his family, versus you that are just sitting here and just no matter what evidence you have in front of you, you would just go back to, well, I know I didn't do it. I can show you FDLE biology reports from scientists.
I just can't believe I'm going to jail.
So
you,
so there's this thing, like, nothing in this job is everything, but everything is something. So before we sat down in this room today, we knew a lot, and now when we leave this room, we know a little bit more. We don't know the truth because you're only giving us bits and pieces of it.
I'm trying to be honest as I can.
It
was a long time ago, and
when you say
I didn't do that though.
And that's the key word. Like when you say you're trying to be honest, that means if somebody being honest with me, they say
what you're saying that you think I did, or you think I did.
Listen, you're just you're giving me psychological indications that you're not telling me the truth because you say you're trying to tell the truth. If somebody being honest with me, they say I'm telling you the truth. They don't say I'm trying to tell the truth because you're trying.
Do this.
You're trying to tell the truth. You're trying. That means psychologically you want to. But if
I know that I didn't do.
If you said, Dave, I'm telling you the truth, you didn't say that. You said I'm trying to tell the truth, which means the truth is in there somewhere, and you don't want to tell me.
The science doesn't lie, though Ken really wants to pretend it does. Detective Savelli personally put in hundreds of hours to cement him as the perpetrator of this horrible crime. After contacting Othram, a forensic genetic genealogy company, he learned that the DNA at the scene of the crime could only belong to Ken or his brothers. After tracking Ken for 17 days with a GPS tracker in his car, he was able to find beer bottles that he swabbed and tested directly against the DNA found at the scene. Of course, it was a match. But the person it matched is pretty set on lying to his teeth, not just about the murder, but about his innocent family too.
When you look at this guy stabbed a lot of times.
Oh yeah,
a ton. Throat slit.
I see that. I see. That's horrible.
You know how many of these are deadly? Not all of them. In fact, there's more on here that are not deadly that are deadly. That's just how it is, because I could stab you all in your legs, and granted, I don't hit your femoral artery or something significant blood supply. You can survive superficial knife wounds. Is it possible that he threatened you, and you just stabbed him once and then you just lost it? Because that's a difference too, Kenneth. That's the difference between if he threatened you, maybe he thought you had money because you're a hardworking guy, maybe you had a watch on, and I'm not saying that the possibility that he threatened you that day and you just stabbed him one time and then he died and went unconscious and you said and you just took the...
No matter what somebody done, unless they killed one of my kids or somebody else.
I understand that, but...
Would I do something like that? A person I can run away or fight myself out of it, but like that, no.
All right.
I wouldn't have that much rage to...
But you never know till you're in
I have some self-control to where I wouldn't hurt nobody like that.
Everybody says that until they get cut off in traffic and then rolling the window down, throwing a finger up because you're just so caught in that moment and shit happens.
I can turn the cheek real easy.
You know? Now, 25 years ago when you were 31, when shit wasn't as easy as it is now. That's the difference.
Actually, I mean, I had more important things in my life than I do right now. Right now it's simple. It's
You said you talked to your daughters?
We've been trying to go back and forth.
You talked to your son?
No, because like I said, he's angry. He thinks I...
What did they say is the cause for the divorce?
I haven't talked to him. I showed him that when everything happened, your mom lied. I mean, basically she lied, tried to get me arrested so she had control of the house.
Domestic violence issues?
Yeah, I mean, but...
What did she say?
She said I was trying to keep her from leaving. I said no, and it was just the way that everything happened. Even because I had a defense attorney at the time, but we were still separated. Even the defense, because I showed her, okay, if you had something so dramatic in that night, she wrote one report. Then she turned around and wrote another report. I guess the one for the courts, the next day it was for the Volusia County Police. They're totally different, and they've seen that. And I told my son, and he got mad, but I was like, your mom's going to get arrested. She's going to have to go on court and lie about this. She wrote 2 different reports. And I didn't want my daughter to have to go to judge. Even my daughter told me, Dad, I know Mom lied. She promised me a cell phone. She promised me all this stuff. Because she told the police officer that night, yeah, I'm in fear of my life for my dad. I never hit my kid. I spanked both of them one time in their life.
But your son even went through some measures to change his name.
I don't know.
Yeah, like that's pretty.
Oh, he stayed angry at me because he thinks everything was my fault. No telling what she told. She told my daughter to lie the night I got arrested.
What does your daughter and son do now? Do they work?
The last thing, my son should probably be a doctor by now. I don't know for sure. But
He was in med school and stuff?
When I got my DUI 16 years ago, I sort of couldn't transportation-wise, couldn't go see him. And I was like, when they get old enough, they'll come see me.
Let me ask you, I got to go back into the memory bank with Wanda. You and Wanda, were you guys, through your marriage, always good
Oh, yeah.
with her?
Yeah.
Consistent?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she uses it like I think most wives do, as far as leverage. You know?
Yep. Well, that's
earn your
just,
brownie points, you know.
Yep, that's human nature, isn't it? You think you and Wanda would still be together if it weren't for your DUI?
We already gone through divorce. And that's why, the only reason I got the DUI, because I had a dog in the car, and he freaking got out of his box, and he was a little chihuahua, and I moved him, and I swerved, and the cop got me, and I was literally living in my semi, because I was like, I don't know how the divorce was going to go, so I'm like, I don't want to start buying something. And I was like, okay, I can't pay rent, I gotta move. So when I got my DUI, I just did a settlement with her. I said, hey, I don't want nothing to do with you, you don't want nothing to do with me, so we're just gonna split the 401k, your bills is yours, mine's mine. And I'm not gonna pay child support until my daughter's 18, so she can tell the truth.
You guys were high school sweethearts?
Yes,
What high school did you go to?
Popka High School. So we're actually junior high school. That's when we started, that's when I fell in love with her.
Right.
They didn't start dating until Popka.
Imagine she's going to be dumbfounded when she hears that.
My brother, Tio, everybody's going to be freaking, what?
Yeah. Do you think there's anybody that won't be surprised?
No.
Because...
Oh, I mean, everybody's going to be surprised. I mean, I just can't think of somebody that everybody knows me.
So we're down to...
Everybody knows me enough to...
Surely you've caught on by now, but Ken isn't exactly being truthful here. Lying about your sex life is one thing. Lying about the several crimes you've committed against your own family members? Well, that's another. In 2006, Ken was arrested for domestic battery. Reportedly, when Wanda tried to leave him over his alcohol, sex, and gambling addictions, he stole her keys and physically harmed her, resulting in one of their children calling the police. Taking a page out of the narcissistic dad's handbook, he claims that his children and wife all lied. After all, according to him, he isn't a violent man. Yet in 2004, he was arrested for disorderly intoxication in a scuffle with police that required not one, but 2 deputies to restrain and pepper spray him.
What I sense what's going to happen is you're gonna tell us not the truth. You're going to tell us that I didn't do this, and that's where you're going to die on that hill. And then what's going to happen is then now you're going to force Emily to work extra. She's going to have to get 3 jobs because this is a significant investigation. And then everything is about money. Versus somebody that is just like, you know what, I've lived a selfless life my whole life. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm remorseful. I'm sorry. I'm a decent guy. And I'm not going to drag my family down with me for this. That's a good dude. Regardless of what they did 25 years ago, that's a solid guy. That's a solid guy. That's the kind of guy that lives the life that he's lived his whole life. I got all day, bro. I got nothing better to do but this today. But what I'm saying is, are you going to do that?
There's nothing I can't confess to something I didn't do.
I don't want you to do that.
I know, and you keep saying that, but you guys already are convinced that this happened. So no matter...
What would you do if you were me?
I understand.
What would you do if you were me?
Probably the same thing you're talking to me about right now.
Somebody,
I just know I can't explain.
Somebody that did this, what should happen to
besides
them?
the fact I worked there and I've been in there, but besides what you're telling me, I understand. I want to do nothing different.
What should happen to the person that did this?
Go to prison the rest of their life.
No second chances?
For that?
Yeah, not even if it can be explained?
No.
Not even if it can be explained? Like, shit gets real sometimes.
No.
If it was a knockout, drag-out fight, if this guy was trying to steal a can of dip and Terry tried to stop him and he punched him and then all of a sudden you just went off the handle?
I don't have that rage in me. I could never hurt nobody like that. It's not.
Did you discover
not
him and he
my
was
DNA.
murdered and you checked for his pulse? Did you do that?
I didn't
Did you do
know.
that?
I didn't know he did that.
Did you find him
I did
murdered? What I'm trying to do is
I understand what you're
did you
trying
find
to
him
do.
like this on February 3rd? And did you check for his pulse? And did you just see the cash behind? That's different. We could explain that. Maybe you just took the $1,000 that was sitting there.
I didn't. I wanted.
So you didn't find him murdered?
No.
I want to make sure. Let me ask you this. Did you find him murdered on February 3rd? Yes or no?
I never found nobody murdered
In your life?
in my life.
Did he hit you and you try to defend yourself?
No, I didn't do that.
You didn't do that
I
either?
didn't hurt him. I didn't hurt nobody. I've never hurt nobody.
So what happens, I don't know, 2-3 years from now, when all the evidence is presented at you, and now, what do you do, man? And then do you then say, you know what, man, I kind of, because at the end of the day, everybody involved in this investigation, whether it's me, the prosecutor, no, they're all human beings.
Yeah.
The prosecutor, whatever lawyer, whatever, when all this stuff comes to a head, everybody's a human being, and everybody bleeds when they get cut. And everybody has some kind of compassion and some kind of soul. And so then we're like, oh, well, Kenneth was honest. And so all that kind of kicks in, and it's like,
I can see that.
you know?
I mean,
And so what I don't want...
I couldn't live with something like that. I'd myself if I blacked out and I knew I had done something like that. If something ever happened like that, I couldn't live with myself. There's no way. Because to me, there wouldn't be no forgiveness for that.
And everybody can be forgiven.
Not that. That's, if I had done this, I would tell you. I would tell you if I did this or whatever, if I had done it. But because I wouldn't want to face anybody in my family and them thinking, Dad,
But this is
you
a
did
real
this.
personal thing.
I know.
Because we're dealing with somebody that's gay, and that's very uncomfortable even in today's world
I
for
know,
somebody
but you-
that may have never even talked about it in their whole entire life.
Okay.
It's very uncomfortable.
All right. 4 years ago when I worked at Perkins, okay, so to take the gay thing out of it, so I worked with Scott. He died of a heart attack, but everybody knows we used to go out. Okay, he took come pick me up in his Corvette. We'd go to Hard Rock. We were cool. He had a partner that works at Disney. Then everybody knew how me and Scott were cool. John Carson, he'd sleep in the bunk. We went to Georgia. We did deliveries. He was openly gay. We went to his house. He had he was the gay guy, and his partner was the girlish kind of guy. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, I have had relationships with gay guys, and he's like, man, I don't have many heterosexual friends. That's what Scott used to tell me. I said, that's cool. Hey, you just know how I am. I know how you are, so it's like, it's cool. You can have your thing.
But I guess I gotta go there now. Have you ever crossed a line with a guy?
I've never
Have you ever kissed a guy?
No.
Had sex with a guy?
No.
Has anyone
No.
ever tried to do that on you, where it made you
No.
uncomfortable and put you in that?
I've always made a step. Your sexual preferences, that's on you.
Okay.
But
So were you like that in '96? Were you as cool with gay people in '96
I
as
didn't
you are today?
as long as they didn't do anything
So
with
that's
me.
why I'm asking. Did Terry know that you were like that and cool, and did he
He
come
never
on to
approached
you?
me like that. Like I said, I don't really recognize him he looked a little familiar maybe, but we didn't have it. It wouldn't be like I knocked on the door and he would let me in. We didn't have that relationship. I'd go
But
there.
you're very comfortable in referencing he and him and we. So it's almost weird to me that you don't want to say that you knew Terry, but you're acting like you do in the way you answer these questions.
The classic "I have a gay friend" excuse. As the detective has touched on here, the 90s were a wildly different times in terms of acceptance. It is important to note that 1996 was at the tail end of the peak years of the AIDS epidemic in America. It was the year that the first highly responsive treatment was developed, turning AIDS from a death sentence into something that could be managed. Attitudes toward LGBTQ individuals during this time were largely negative, and being outed could truly end someone's life. This is part of the reason why you're about to hear detectives pretty interested in a certain charge on Ken's credit card.
Do you think you're going to be some magic piece of evidence that's going to come, and some alibi is going to come?
There's something's
and be
gonna.
like,
Something's got.
So that's
My
gonna
religion
make
right
it-
now, I'm believing. Hey, God knows I didn't do this. God knows I didn't do this, and
You think there's going to be some some miracle is going to come back and say it's not your. You know what? It's not Kenneth. It's there's just all a big
There's got to be
mistake.
there's something that
You really think
got
that?
transferred in that store. There's something. I don't know. I can't explain what you guys say you know and what you got proof of. This is a shock to me. This is a freaking
Is it a shock because after 25 years you're finally
No,
being
I just
called
didn't know that
to ask for
happened to him. I didn't know that happened.
it? Call
Like I
Terry,
said,
that's fine.
but I didn't know that had
You call
happened.
Terry.
And then you guys telling me that,
Yeah.
I'm your number one.
Just say his name. Just say Terry. for me.
Terry.
Come on. Listen.
You know what's happened to Terry.
This is.
I know.
Come on, man. Listen, we gotta put this to bed, man. You cannot let Teal go through this. You cannot let Amanda go through this. She's already like. This is what I'm saying.
I want to
because
do that. If
when-
I did something like that,
when-
I didn't murder nobody. I didn't never hurt nobody like that. No, I would just, it's not something I would do. Is no matter
Today.
But back
That's
then, I
not
don't
something
care.
you would do today. Because
I
31-year-old
hear you
Kevin
saying.
Stowe is different than 54-year-old Kevin
And,
Stowe.
you know, I've always had the same work ethics. That's why I always worked 2 jobs. That's why.
And nobody calling you lazy.
No, I'm just.
I've seen it.
I want
Accuse me
it,
of
I
that.
want it done for money. And being gay or not, I didn't have no personal thing with anybody like that to where. It just,
Any gay guys ever come on to you?
no, like I said, I had friends, and and I explained to them once I knew you're gay. Okay, I'm heterosexual. I'm married at the time. I was like,
You never experienced anything with a guy?
never.
Sexual,
No.
anything?
Even Jordan Carson, he wanted to get with me when we'd be driving
Yeah.
on the road.
So he did.
But he knew I was married. I was like,
What
you keep that.
was going on at the Roadway Inn about 2 months ago? In September, you went and stayed at the Roadway Inn.
I think you would have cashed a lottery ticket in maybe if an helped him
Did
out.
you hit a ticket? How much you hit?
10,000.
10 grand.
Yeah.
On which one?
I don't know. It was like a 200X or something like that.
Oh, no shit. Okay, so you go cash your ticket in, you get a night at the Roadway. Does Teal go with you?
Because I didn't want to drive home because it was raining. And no, she didn't go with me. I was
You
trying.
stayed at the Roadway.
I kept trying to call my daughter and say, "Listen,
Who visited you at the Roadway Inn?
nobody.
Sure.
Awesome.
You stopped at another hotel first, and they were at the up off County Line Road, I think, and then you went over the roadway after that.
Are you sure nobody visited you in the Roadway?
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I had my hungry hours. I was trying to get a hold of my daughter and say, "Hey, listen, I'm in town." Or I know she's still living in Delta in Orange City.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to get a hold of my daughter and say, "Hey, I'm in town. You want to come and visit me?" But I was like, "I'm not driving."
But at
anymore."
night, nobody came and visited you?
Nobody visited me.
See, that's the thing, man. And there's some things that you don't want to remember, and there's some things that you remember. And we know you remember this. It's written all over your face, man. Anybody that can see you here and
I
live
didn't
this.
visit nobody though. There's nobody.
I'm talking about visit this incident with
at the roadway.
No, with
Terry.
Oh.
We have
That's the only
floated
thing.
almost every possibility. We've even asked you if you discovered him, you checked his vitals, and there's transfer. We asked you if this was a self-defense case. But now, and I hate to say this, but now maybe you did premeditate this. Maybe you were staking him out from across the street, and you knew he opened, and you knew so maybe this does go into premeditation, and that's what I didn't know. And so maybe by you not telling us anything, you're telling us the whole story. You knew he worked there. You knew the opening routine. You knew.
But I just told you,
Knew him.
I've never opened.
And so
the
you
store.
took advantage that you once worked
Back
there and
there,
knew the
I was
layout of the
naive.
store.
All I
So-
knew, they had camera.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So maybe this does, instead of this just being something that was, oh shit, maybe this is a premeditated thing. Maybe this is something that you thought about for some time. Maybe, that's what I'm trying to say. We didn't think you were this crazy guy. But maybe you are. Maybe you have all of us fooled. Maybe that's what it is. Is it?
No.
Or is this something that just, something went bad, something went south, you took advantage of a good situation because of the situation you found yourself in 25 years ago?
I never-
There, you see the difference, bro? There's two differences.
I understand what you have and what you're saying to me, but I didn't do it. I know for a fact that I didn't do it.
He knows for a fact that he didn't do it, and yet his blood is all over the crime scene. When detectives ask how that's possible, he suggests that he may have made a delivery there the morning of the murder for work and gotten blood on the door from a cut he received from a previous injury. Where he says he got that injury and where his ex-wife says he got that injury, though, are completely different stories.
The only time I ever cut myself was on both hands, was pulling a band when I was working for Worldwide Dedicated.
Inadvertently. You see where all these injuries are?
I see that.
It's consistent with somebody that is right-handed, and I'm by no means am I an expert. I don't want you to think that, but it's just common sense, right? Because if you stab me right here, you're right-handed. They're probably going to be right here, all right here, right-handed person, right? I'm a public school kid, man. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but a lot of stuff in detecting is just common sense, right? So this happens, and your blood gets in all these different places when you inadvertently cut yourself, and you don't know, because if you knew, you know what you would have done? You would have cleaned the shit up, and then we wouldn't be here. But this, you didn't know, and you're freaking out, and it shows movement throughout the scene.
That's not the knife there?
No, this is the door to the beverage cooler.
Oh.
Right? And so that's what I'm saying, is you didn't know you cut yourself. You ever cut yourself shaving or something? Like, I'm bald, so I cut myself shaving all the time. And then all of a sudden I look down, I'm like, gosh, I got blood on my shirt, because you don't know where you nick yourself. Or you cut yourself.
I gotta wear gloves. I'm the only one that wears gloves at work all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know
I got 2 cents.
Sometimes you don't know you cut yourself until you see blood, right, on like a shirt or something. That's the same thing here, buddy. Is you cut yourself and you didn't know you did this, because like I said, you would have washed it up, right? But the problem is you really can't see that. It's right here. But in the heat of the moment, when you just got done doing this,
I know, we're gonna go back to this.
I know we have to, man, because we have to address the elephant in the room. Do you cook?
I used to cook at Perkins. I mean, I
Okay,
cook
you
at
ever cut yourself?
home.
You cut yourself, right?
Yeah, cutting onions. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
When you're using a knife, the chances of you getting cut go up because you have the knife and you cut yourself. And sometimes, right? So it's the same thing here.
I cut myself all the time.
It's the same thing here, man. You use a knife and you get cut, you don't know, and then you move throughout the store and you do whatever you do after the fact. But that's what we can't get past. Kenneth was found in the bathroom, stabbed 73 times with his throat being, with the front door being locked, with their blood being on the lock assembly. Deputies got there because the armored truck people were there, and somebody else had drove past because they go in to get coffee. They noticed that the lights were off and that the business was closed and it was abnormal. So when deputies got there, the doors were locked. But on the lock, like the bolt, they see blood. So it's not like you were just making a delivery because the doors were locked. Or you know what? Like Dave said on 9/11, you remember all those specific details. This is something you would have remembered. You know what? I was trying to make a delivery there, and the doors were locked, and there was blood, and they found the guy murdered. You would remember that. And you know,
like when you asked me why didn't you go back to the store, I went back to the store, but I didn't know none of those employees.
Sure, of course. Like you said, it probably changed hands. But if you tried to make a delivery and the door was locked and there was blood and they found this guy murdered, every time you saw something on the news, your mind would kind of visit that time where you were kind of involved, right? Same thing now. If you watch all these crime shows, and I'm sure it's in the back of your mind.
No,
man.
I never would do something like that. I like the idea that you can find people with their DNA. I think it's freaking awesome, especially when people get away with stuff and from highness.
I suspect that Ken no longer thinks it's awesome when genetic genealogy catches criminals. Thanks to his ex-wife, the police get a pretty solid confirmation of how his DNA ended up at the scene. Sometime in 1996, Ken's ex remembers him coming home with very deep gashes on the palms of both of his hands. The gashes were so deep that she begged him to go to the hospital, even though he was reluctant. He told her that it was from an accident at work moving equipment. However, he didn't want to utilize workers' compensation. Instead, he said he would only go to the hospital for surgery if he could pay out of pocket. Naturally, detectives found it odd that Ken was willing to shell out money simply so there was no record through the insurance of his surgery, and no investigation from his employer regarding his supposed workplace injury.
Did Terry ever cross the line with you when you were in the store? Come on to you,
That's what I'm
grab
saying,
you, try to kiss you?
So I didn't know his name. I just...
Did you do something?
I could have walked away from anybody coming on, trying to do
Right,
something
but
like that with me.
but it's 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
I never,
Maybe
I never,
you seem
I
kind of.
never seen anybody in that store because if I was passing by or wherever I was going, I know it was Circle K and 7-Eleven would be open.
You seem like a
I wanted to go
friendly
to that
dude.
store.
You seem like somebody that's social, that people may not be friends with you, but when they first meet you, they kind of shoot the shit with. Because you seem like a personable guy. I don't know you outside of this setting, but that's what it appears to me. So what I'm saying is, if Terry took that the wrong way, and he knew you from coming in, making deliveries, and you're shooting the shit with him, and he came on to you, that's important.
Yeah, I just
That's
don't know if I
important.
made
But did that
deliveries.
happen?
No.
But did that happen?
No.
And there's nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed of.
I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. I mean, I can't help somebody, you know, they're gay, they're
But
gay.
what I guess what I'm trying to say is,
that.
if you took him up on something and went too far, you're like, wow.
I can't,
married.
there's no way in the world I could ever be gay. There's nothing, there's no gayness in me. I'm just a heterosexual.
It's almost
Yeah.
everybody, let's say probably everybody we speak to, that we show the crime scene photos, like, oh man, this is deeply personal. This
Yeah.
is somebody who really, you know, and that's kind of the classic, you know, what we call like an overkill.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Where it'd be like,
Yeah.
you don't need to stab somebody 73 times.
That's why I know damn well, there's no way I could do that.
Listen, man, I don't know how much we can go round and round. I would.
I know. I
you
didn't
know,
do it, though.
I don't.
I know.
If
I can't. There's nothing I can tell you differently to make you okay. Like
A
you
reason-
said, you have to go back and you have to say, hey, he said he didn't do it. That's all I can tell you is I didn't do it.
A reasonable explanation would be good. But you can't even find one of those.
I didn't do it. I can't pull it out of the air and say, hey, I that's something I did, and I'll tell you what happened. There's nothing I can tell you. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I can't change it. I can't explain I mean.
All right, well, we'll regroup our things, man. Let me ask you this. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear, affirm, or promise everything you told us in this interview today was true and correct?
Yes, sir.
So help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, man, we're going to gather our stuff. Just give us a minute, all right? Well, you need some more water or something? I'm sure you might have to use the bathroom in the next 20 minutes. Just hang out here for us.
Just as detectives suggested, Ken tried all kinds of new and nonsensical stories at trial. Since he couldn't deny the blood evidence, he told the jury that he had been delivering to the market the morning that Terry got killed and that his previous hand injuries must have broken open. His story completely ignored the fact that the blood from his supposed workplace injury was everywhere but the stockroom, where he would be going if he was delivering things. Ken was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Terrence Paquette. Unfortunately, almost all of Terry's close family died before his killer was put behind bars. He was buried in a cemetery in Florida, where our team hopes that he is resting in peace.